Good evening and welcome to everyone. Welcome to MTG Monday. You are joining us for our first episode. MTG stands for Moving Towards Greater. And I'm your host, Dr. John Eves. And this is my lovely wife,
Dr. Jackie Eves.
Yeah, the Dr. Jackie Eves. So we're so excited and we're so happy to bring this platform to you guys. It's something that's been on our heart for actually quite a while, and there's nothing like dreams becoming reality. So here we are, episode 1, dreams becoming reality, and we can't wait to share with you all the good things that are in store and on the horizon.
I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited. It has been a long time coming. We're both very passionate people, driven to service.
Yeah.
And so now we are aligning forces and coming together for MTG. And MTG is a movement.
It is a movement. And, as we said, the name, what it means is moving towards greater. What does that really mean? I think it means a little bit something different for each person. I know for us in our personal journey, we find these times in life where we get a little stuck, we get a little stagnant, and then all of a sudden it is time to pivot, right? Yes. When things are not going the way that you thought that they should go, or, you find yourself in a rut, you find yourself in that place where, what's happening? What's going on? Why am I still stuck? Why am I doing the same thing? It's, here we are in the new year, it's 2026. And we're happy about the journey that's in store. So, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Dr. Jackie Eves, born and raised in the great state of Arkansas. Grew up pretty clear on what I thought I wanted to do in life. Went to college, met the love of my life.
All right.
We got married, and I wanted you to jump in and tell your part of up until marriage.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. As she said, I also grew up here in Arkansas, but was born in Virginia, so I kind of migrated, down to Arkansas, but did all my high school, college years here, and met this wonderful young lady when we were very young and just getting started. And we had a lot of good ideas.
We did.
The future, seemed very bright. I ended up taking a commission in the United States Navy, and that took us from Arkansas to the East Coast, down in Texas.
Yeah,
started in Texas. We went to the East Coast. We lived in Japan, lived overseas, got to travel the world, got to see a lot of things. And obviously during that time, we're getting ready to celebrate 29 years of marriage.
29 years. How the time flies.
Yeah.
You skipped over a whole lot of stuff, but we will come back to that over the next few years of these episodes.
Yeah, right.
Because a lot has happened in between in those 29 years, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of purposely did some of that because I'm really excited about this platform. I'm excited about moving towards greater, and the inspiration or what we hope to achieve through all of us is that we will become kind of like family, right?
Yes.
Family is important. We both come from strong families. That was part of the reason why we just moved back to Arkansas about 2 years ago. A lot of that was, we wanted to be, back where we grew up. We wanted to be closer to family.
Yes.
We wanted to be able to serve in the communities that, that poured out and did so much for us.
Absolutely.
As while we were growing up. So again, that was a big reason, why, as I mentioned, pivot. There's that word again, pivot.
Yeah, pivot.
What does it mean to pivot? I said earlier, you get stuck, things happen, and we don't want to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So sooner or later you have to pivot. And that's where we came up with moving towards greater, because, if you stay in the same place, the situation is not going to get greater, right?
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, you're going to find yourself being constrained. It's going to get small. You're going to start hating life. You're going to start lashing out at those people, behind you. But I think some of our greatest growth as a couple in careers, in our marriage and our family, has been because we were open to pivot,
Absolutely.
open to change.
Change is the only thing that's constant, right?
Oh,
Change is constant.
y'all hear it, right?
And we have to be adaptable.
Oh,
Sometimes
okay.
it's uncomfortable.
Okay.
I grew up in the same city, in the same town, went to Robinson Elementary, junior high, and high school. They were
Wow.
all within a mile of each other.
Mm.
So I had a lot of consistency in my life in terms of just location, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get married, and first thing we do, day after our wedding, moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a little inside joke is when we were dating, and I said, where do you see yourself? 5, 10 years. She said, well, I see myself getting married and just raising a family here in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, right?
And I was like, well, I don't see myself staying in Arkansas.
I was like, where we going, baby? Let's move now. So again,
no, you were all about the pivot, right?
I was about to pivot because
right.
I knew that you were answer prayer. So it's so important to know what you want. It's okay to have that clarity.
Now get back on that answer prayer.
You were an answer prayer for real though.
Okay.
No, I kissed a few frogs in my life,
but
I found my prince.
All right.
It's okay, ladies. Keep hope alive.
So likewise, she was my answered prayer. And I think I used to tell her, hey, I'm just trying to find, a nice young lady that I could take home.
You said that. Yeah. So his bar wasn't too high, but he won.
Now.
He won.
Yeah, give her brother a chance now. Give her brother a chance. So we finished college about the same time. She gladly accepted, my proposal.
Absolutely.
After her father and her family did, so I was given the blessing, and off we went to start this journey. Now I ain't gonna even get into the whole wedding and the courtship and all that.
Yeah,
but let me just tell you this: there was a lot of crying at our wedding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Reason there was a lot of crying, I think, is because like her brothers and some of her family, they was like, you taking our sister away from us.
Yes, that was my baby brother, Terrence. He was about 6 or 7 at the time.
Yeah.
And he cries like, you taking my sister away. Yeah.
But within a few months, I said, hey man, you can come visit us and join us. And then he was all happy.
He was
all
good then,
right?
Yeah.
So again, yes, family is very important. Just being open to move, being open to movement, being open to change, being open to the shift that, that God might have for your life.
Absolutely.
So many of us miss the opportunity. So many of us miss the chance to move towards greater and to excel in a different area because we get so stuck with, well, I don't want to leave here. This is the only thing I know. And one thing about it is, even though we physically left Arkansas, our hearts never left. Right?
Never, yeah.
So
we visited a lot.
No, man, we were always visiting, and the good thing about it was, our family and our friends, coming out and visit us. I mean, we had family and friends come all the way to Japan, and that was a blessing. That was neat, and we were glad that we were able to do that. So here we are on what we call MTG Mondays. So our plan is to, the third Monday
of every month.
Third Monday of every month. You're going to see us live and in living color.
Yes. And to let us know you're there, go ahead and drop us a heart. Show us some love. Let us know where you are watching us from here on MTG Monday.
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
Drop some information in the comment section. Show us some love. Drop some heart emojis. And, we want to connect with you guys.
Yes.
We really, really do. One of our main inspirations for this platform is a family. Is a community that can come together to achieve goals, right?
Yes.
Because I think we live in a time now where people are so isolated, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like a lot of individuals have a desire to want to move towards greater and to want to do great things in their life, but you get stuck with this, well, how do I do that?
Right.
Or, I don't know anybody who's, doing anything on that level, so what am I supposed to do? Well, right. Well, guess what? As a community, we can come together and we can share ideas. We can brainstorm. We can motivate one another. We can encourage each other. Mm-hmm. We can do so many things. Someone told us a long, long time ago that what does the acronym TEAM stand for?
Yes, together everyone achieves more.
Together everyone achieves more.
Yeah.
So we're definitely all about that teamwork.
Absolutely.
Teamwork making a dream work, and speaking of the dream,
Yeah.
what you got to say about the dream?
Oh, okay. So we're big dreamers. We're part of a great organization that
Mm-hmm.
believes in dream,
Mm-hmm.
believe in work.
All right.
Shout out to the T Rich Foundation. And this is a great time to dream again.
Absolutely.
So we want to encourage you as we move towards greater. Sometimes we may have to dust off those dreams, those ideas, those God given downloads that God has given you. And we want to encourage you to dream again.
Yes.
Think about those goals, those aspirations that you may have. And guess what? Now you have
Yeah.
a community of like minded people that are moving towards
I
greater.
love it. I love it. And then also I want to throw this in. Not only are we dreamers, not only are we achievers, because we have done quite a bit, in the 29 years that we've been together, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and here's what I want you guys to lock in on. We are also practitioners. All right. So what does that mean? When I say practitioners, when I say practitioners, I mean actually doing the work. We've actually a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about on MTG Mondays, and later on we're going to introduce MTG Live. A lot of those things that we're talking about, we have actually done. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So yes, when you go to school, it's like you learn all of the book stuff, all of
Right.
the theory, but there becomes a time where you have to put the theory in practice, and that's when you become a
A
practitioner,
practitioner.
right?
From
So
theory to
from
practice.
theory to practice. So the biggest thing that we notice is a lot of people are stuck financially. A lot of individuals, especially in this economy, right?
Yes.
With what's going on with inflation, with what's going on with jobs, with what's going on in the real estate market, with what's going on with just the price of goods and services. I
Yes.
think a lot of individuals are like, okay, what am I supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's when it's important to link up with someone who's an actual practitioner,
Yes.
someone who's actually, been out there and like, hey, uh, it might seem hard to figure out, but it really ain't, right? I mean, it's really not. When you look at how wealth is achieved in this country, when you look at how people get ahead, it's either through real estate, it's either through having a business, it's through the stock market, or having some kind of additional source of income. Unfortunately for us, we were not given, we did not inherit, the bag,
Right.
as they say, right?
Yeah.
We didn't, it wasn't given to us, as they say, now we had to go get it out of the mud,
Out
right?
the mud. Get it out the
Yeah.
mud.
And what does that look like? Well, it looks like a lot of different things. It looks like a
Yes.
lot of, some of those things that I mentioned earlier. We are vivid and active real estate investors, all right? We are active, in the stock market, we are active when it comes to having our own business. All right. So those are the things that we want to share with the community and with the family.
Absolutely. And the thing that I love about you and your vision for this is that we waited to launch this until we had to go through some things,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So a big part of our transition back to Arkansas was not building one house, but building two houses.
Mm-hmm.
Not only transitioning with careers. So it's like we have so much to share because I just want to encourage you, whatever you're going through right
Mm-hmm.
now is temporary.
Yeah.
Things are going to change. Just like we talked about, change is constant. Wherever you aren't going to be there forever.
That's right.
So we want to encourage you to know that we didn't just get here overnight. It took some
No,
time.
it took some time. And here's the thing, when you look at the time that it takes someone to do something, to achieve something, you can compress that time if you become active as a mentor, as a mentee, as you get into asking questions and going through real life examples on
Real life.
scenarios. Because it's
Absolutely.
one thing to go out and invest in real estate, to invest in the stock market when you have no knowledge at all. You're going to bump your head, you're going to make some mistakes, and you're going to learn from those.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Now we have the benefit of passing on those mistakes and those lessons learned to the community, to
Absolutely.
our friends, to our families. All right.
Yes.
So I first got started in real estate when I was in the Navy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We were stationed in the Hampton Roads Tidewater area. Shout out to the 757. That might be out there joining us. But that's where I got my start in real
Yeah.
estate. I was stationed at Norfolk Naval Base on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, Nimitz class aircraft carrier, nuclear aircraft carrier, and we came in from a 6-month cruise. And during that cruise, I read a lot of books
Hmm.
because at the time I didn't think that the Navy was going to be my long-term career. Now I did end up doing 20 years in the Navy, and I ended up retiring. But
Yeah.
at that time, as a young person, I was like, I'm gonna do 5 or 6 years, and I'm gonna do something else. So
Hmm.
I was studying, and I was trying to figure out, if I had to leave the military today, what could I do to earn additional income?
Yes.
And long, long time ago, there used to be these infomercials that came on TV at night. One of these guys was named Carlton Sheets. He had those infomercials on, how to flip real estate, how to get, rich in real estate and everything. So I bought some of those books. I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I just became immersed
Hmm.
in what it took to be a real estate investor. So I bought my first property while we were living in the Tidewater area, and everything that could go wrong went
It
wrong.
did.
You
Yep.
remember
Sure
that?
did. Of course. That was an interesting time because you were doing so much studying. I was just like, okay, do your thing. I was in college working on my master's at Norfolk State,
Yep.
and I was just like, okay, he's doing his thing. I'm going to do my thing, and we're going to come together in the middle.
Right.
And what I don't know if you remember this, but you were out on a cruise,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get involved to take care of some of the business. And I started looking at receipts, and I was like, "Oh my,
Yeah.
this is a real business." And that what you had a couple of things going on. So we had a property at that time,
We
and
had
we
we
had
had
the
we
trucking
had a rental
company.
property. We started a trucking company.
Yeah.
We got involved in multi-level marketing.
Yes.
Remember that? And hey, for what it was, multi-level marketing was great for us at that time period because we
Yes.
got introduced to a great network of people,
Yes.
some
Amazing people
really some really wonderful mentors,
that are still in our lives to this
still in our
day.
lives to this day. We got turned on to some really good books about business and processes and
Yes.
structure that we still use and take advantage of to this day.
Absolutely. And that was foundational. So I will say that, I mean, I could go so far as to say if you interview any successful person, they've had a few hiccups here and there. They've had to pivot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They've had to, and some of the best lessons are those that you learn, hard knocks,
absolutely.
school of hard knocks.
There used
But you don't have to go down that path.
you don't have to do that, right? You don't have to do that. So one of the things that a lot of people have heard that most first time businesses fail, and there's some truth to that. Ask me how I know,
Hmm.
because as she mentioned, we've had several ventures. They have all not been great and glamorous, but we finally got to a point where I think we started figuring out some commonalities.
Yes.
Uh,
Foundational principles.
Foundational principles, some discipline, in terms of finances, not getting in over our heads, how to be able to effectively use capital and leverage, paying off debt, getting to the point where we had decent credit scores, and all that, because all of that plays a role.
Hmm.
Am I right or am I right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And it's an ongoing journey.
yeah,
We're moving towards greater too,
absolutely.
and there come points where you have to understand the season that you're in,
Oh my God.
and we'll talk about
Yeah,
that later.
yeah,
But
but
it's
yeah, but
seasons
but
are
but let me
changing.
do this because I guess one of the things that we kind of left out was our spirituality in all this, right?
Oh, that's foundational.
It's very foundational. So,
Yes.
so both Dr. Jackie and I grew up, in the church. We are both PK kids,
Yeah.
preachers' kids. If y'all
Yeah.
haven't heard that term before, and and I think that was one of the reasons, that we also, clicked so well, also.
Absolutely.
But at
Faith and family.
absolutely,
Foundational.
you
Yeah.
got to have it. Faith, family. That foundation is important. And it got to the point where I accepted my call into the ministry, and for 12 years, counting like remember that movie, what, 12 Years a Slave or whatever. But for 12 years,
That wasn't a good
I,
example.
I was and am a recovering youth pastor. Let that sink in for a minute. I was and am a recovering youth pastor. So I have dealt with your kids, your nephews and your nieces and your cousins and your kids, your grandkids. I have dealt with them at the church and taken them on the picnics and the amusement
Hmm.
parks, and
rodeos,
yep, they've shared things with me about you
lock-ins.
all, and I'm like, no, your mama ain't really like that, right? But it was a wonderful experience, and as my wife
It
said,
was.
it was foundational to building our faith.
Absolutely. And even before, there are so many levels. And again, and it's all progressive and moving towards greater.
Mm,
And we'll share that during another pod, just serving in ministry
yes,
and really just in each of these situations, we always manage to find ourselves in community.
absolutely.
Even within the church, that's a community. And we had like minded people that
Hmm.
were serious about moving the kingdom agenda
Yeah.
forward and understanding that those youth are our future.
Yes.
They are the church as well, you know. So uh, grateful for those that serve in ministry.
Mhm.
And when we came here, he is in recovery as a pastor. But you know, it never leaves you.
No, it doesn't.
And you continue to grow in that area as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest part that I wanted to emphasize about that was, the reliance on the Word of God.
Amen.
So and you will hear that throughout MTG Mondays, MTG Live. You will hear us, share different aspects of the Word. But one of the, especially dealing with your kids, I'm talking about your kids. You can't just stand in front of them and use this, the thou and the arts and if thou would only believest and all that.
Yeah.
What we found out, and my wife was a partner with me for those
Mm-hmm.
entire 12 years. She did not leave my side, and I thank God because when they asked me to be a youth pastor, I was like, I don't know nothing about kids. You talking to my wife, right? Because she's just so loving and she has that compassion and that warm spirit. I was in the military. So you
We
bring your
balanced
if
it
you bring
well.
your kid to me with a problem, I'm gonna make him do some push-ups or run around the building or something. But I was told that's not the ministry to use. That wasn't the right thing to do. So
Yes, and you grew.
I grew.
Yeah,
I
you
grew.
did a great job. It was a great season.
I'm so happy you said that. I did a
It
great
was.
job.
You
Okay,
did.
all right.
Yeah.
But
To
one
God be the glory.
for the things that He has done
Amen.
and deliverance.
Yes.
So he's brought me out of that, and now we're into a new season in our life.
Amen.
But what I do want to share with you, like I said, I think God really blessed us to be able to just share the word and to just to make it plain, right? So when you look at moving towards greater, there's a couple scriptures that I wanted to share, and it's going to be coming out of Ecclesiastes chapter 11. And at verse 1, it says, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Verse 2 says, giving a servant to 7 and also to 8. For watch this, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you drop down to verse 6, it says, in the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand. For you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. So as I was contemplating on that, as I wanted, because we told you guys foundation is important. And when you look at, kind of the relevance of the scripture to, what we're talking about in terms of moving towards greater, well, the book of Ecclesiastes was written by one of the wisest and most wealthiest people in all of scripture, King Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And King Solomon was so successful, he was so wise that he is listed as, not only the wisest, but probably one of the richest people, throughout all the scriptures. And I'm not saying that just because. And please don't get me wrong. This podcast, this movement, this platform, it's not about getting rich. Although we want you to be wealthy, we want you to be prosperous, we want you to grow even as your soul prosper. We also want you to understand that there's foundation involved, and it's also important that we understand the wisdom, that we need in order to grow. So that's why I share this. And one of the things that we pull out of this is when he says, "Cast your bread upon the water, for you find it after many days." That's an investment.
Absolutely. And if I could, in the Amplified, because I like to break it down a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
it says, be diligently active, make thoughtful decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, again, it's about a mindset. And you spoke
Yes.
about that recently. We're not gonna preach. You got to go check out Greater Galilee on that one.
All right.
But your mindset, you have to be active in this. You can't just sit around expecting things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be active and diligent.
Mm. In verse 2, he talks about give a servant to 7 and also to 8. What does that mean? Give a servant to 7 and give a servant to 8. So we're talking about an investment from Solomon's point of view. Solomon had many, many investments. In other words, he didn't just sit around and just did one thing. He didn't sit around like, hey, I'm the king, I got it going on. You know, y'all bring me your taxes, you bring me your money. No, he had different investments. He invested in agriculture. He invested in shipping. He invested in people. All right. So when he writes about giving a servant to 7 and also 8, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about a word that I think maybe have gotten a little bit lost in today's time, but that word is diversification, right? We have to, y'all have heard the saying, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So that was one of the main things that I had to learn in my investment journey and in my real estate journey, in my stock journey coming up, because we get so consumed with the fact that we want to see things happen fast. I was talking to a guy recently, and he said, hey, if I got $20,000 to invest, can I turn that into $100,000 in a year or two? I said, man, it ain't gonna work like that. I said, it's a good goal to have. It's a good goal to want to grow your investment and to want to increase. But the bottom line is investing is something that takes discipline, and it takes time, and it takes diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I mean by diversity? Well, we living in a time and an era right now where when you look at the dollar, the government has been on this rampage for the last several years of just printing money. It all started during the pandemic. Yeah, I remember all those stimulus checks. Where do you think that money came from, right? The government decided to print more money, and then as the government printed more money, what happened? The prices of everything went up. So when the prices of everything go up, now you're left in this kind of rut, where it's like, well, the prices went up 20 and 30 and 40 and 50% in some places. Why did my job only give me a 1% raise?
If you got that.
If you got that, right? or what happened if you lost a job? Oh, true story. So, so here I am, my wife mentioned we made this pivot, back to Arkansas. And, everything was going good, but I was in Arkansas and I was still working a contractor job in Washington, D.C. All right. So before I even made the pivot, I sat down, I talked with, my group, my team, my supervisors, my project managers, told them what was going on. And they said, hey, we support you. You've helped grow this program to what it is today. You can travel, you can work remotely. I remember that word, work remotely. You can travel, you can work remotely, you can do all those. It was a thing, and I did that for almost 2 years, and then all of a sudden things changed. Y'all do know that things can change, right?
Shift.
Yep. That there can be a shift.
Happens.
There can be a pivot, either a pivot that you want to do or a pivot that someone places up on you. So I had a pivot placed upon me where, the job that I had for many, many years as a consultant, for the government, all of a sudden that job went away. What they say, the contract dried up. It was no more. So here I am, and now I'm forced to go to my foundation. I'm forced to go to what Solomon is talking about in Ecclesiastes chapter 11. I'm forced to go to my diversification.
That is so good.
Because watch this. If Solomon talks about give a servant to 7 and also to 8. What if I only had one servant?
Yes.
What if my only servant was, and a lot of us find ourselves in a place where the only income or what we think our only investment might be our job.
That's it.
You might have a little 401k, that maybe you're not really maximizing it to its fullest potential, because you don't know how to maximize it to its fullest potential. So that could be an additional servant. But what if you only got one servant? Well, Solomon says, give a servant to 7 and also to 8, because you do not know what evil will be on the earth.
Evil is there, right?
And then in verse 6, he's like, in the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand, for you do not know which will prosper. So in other words, I had no idea what was going to go on.
Mm-hmm.
But because I had some read, because I had some read some books when I was young and in the Navy, because I decided to go out and invest in a rental property that I had no idea what I was doing, and I did all the wrong things, but I learned so much from it that when I finally invested in my second property, it went a little bit better. So these are the lessons that that we pull out of the Word of God, and that's why the Word is so applicable to what's going on in our day-to-day lives. But I think we miss it a lot of times because we think that we live in a time in 2026 where it's becoming relevant.
It's real, it's living, it's active, and it's applicable. And again, it's amazing to me because you don't wait until the drought happens before you prepare.
Oh, that's good. Good.
Because things dry up, right?
Yeah. And
literally and
and not
figuratively.
only do they dry up without any warning, without any I didn't expect that my contract was going to dry up. I mean, I thought that I was going to be able to be a consultant into perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? No, things shift, things happen, and all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now what do you
Now
do?
what?
And
Right.
guess what? When you find yourself in that place where it's like, now what do I do? That's not the time to be like, okay,
Trying to figure it out.
or now I need to find these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 sermons
Right.
to jump into.
That is
So,
so
the
good.
word tells us don't despise the days of small beginnings.
That's right.
So, one of our big emphasis, one of the biggest points that we're going to emphasize in moving towards greater is there is nothing wrong with starting small. You know, it's going to take a little bit of discipline to look at your paycheck or look at what you got coming in, what you get paid weekly, every 2 weeks, or once a month. You're gonna have to be able to look at that and say, okay, can I sacrifice $100? Maybe two, three. What can I sacrifice?
Mm-hmm.
And then once I figure out, what I can set aside, now where do I put it?
Right.
And then am I going to be disciplined enough to allow time to, because time does some wonderful things, right? Over time you can become more disciplined.
Yes.
Over time you can become less impatient. Over time, 29 years, you can learn how to love your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And, not always,
As Christ loved the church.
yeah, and not always have her fussing at you about, this, that, other, or the other thing, right?
That's right.
Over time. But a lot of times we get so impatient because we don't see things happen or work out the way we want them to on our timeline. Because it says, sow your seed in the morning, because in the evening, you don't know what's going to be at hand. So that's my big that's my big motivation point. That's my big encouragement is, hey, we got to be willing to diversify, and we
That's
got to
right.
be willing to let time work on our behalf, and also trust people. I think.
Trust is huge. And we know that trust is earned. So I think that as we continue to meet on Mondays, we want to earn your trust.
Absolutely.
We want you to know that we are spirit led.
Mm.
Spirit led. We love God. We love each other.
Yeah.
And we love you. We love our community and those who trust us enough to listen this far. And we're listening and we're looking for opportunities to help you move towards greater. So if you could, in the chat, just put an area of life. I'm a life coach by trade. And I'm really big on just evaluating where you are.
Oh, she's awesome at that. Yeah.
So we have a core assessment on www.movingtowardsgreater.com that we'd like for you to take that assessment, and we're going to follow up with you and talk about the next steps on your journey towards greater.
All right. You want to talk to them about our live planning session?
Yes, we are excited to announce our first MTG Live.
All right.
It's scheduled for February the 21st.
Woo-woo.
That's on a Saturday. And we're going to meet around 1 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And if you're interested, leave us a comment and we'll respond with the details.
Yes.
All right. So moving towards greater is going to require some action.
It is.
Now, this is a two-way conversation now,
Yeah.
so we need to hear from you all because that's going to set the tone for this event. It will be a meet and greet. We'll be meeting others in this community. We are in Central Arkansas, so for those of you that are virtual, we may have to have a separate virtual session, but we were going to focus on the live right now.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And I was going to say, obviously everyone may not be in Central Arkansas. If you are, that's wonderful. But if you're not, we still, and that's the wonderful thing about technology. And, we can be all over the world, but still be together and be connected. So we definitely will ensure that there is a way for those that can't make it in person to be able to connect with us and to be a part of the motivation, the mentorship, the learning that's going to take place. All right. So again, what was the date on that?
All right. That's Saturday, February 21st. Here in Central Arkansas. More details to follow.
More details to follow. All right. And as we get ready to wrap up this session, we didn't want to hold your time too long tonight. We wanted to just kind of introduce ourselves, jump on, let you know about this platform, the great things that we have coming in the weeks and the months ahead. And we definitely want to get to know you all, get to understand what your motivations are, to understand what your struggles are,
what your dreams are,
and that's where I wanted to end at. Yeah. I wanted to, when we were in when we were in multi-level marketing, one of the big things that they focused on was the dream.
Yeah.
Because the dream encapsulates your why. Why are you doing this? Why is it even important to you? So as we get ready to wrap up tonight, I definitely want you guys to think about what your dreams are. To think about, how stretched you may be in terms of debt, how stretched you may be in terms of finances, and, what could just an extra $500 a month do? Or what could an extra, $3,000 to $4,000, a month, or an extra $40,000 to $50,000 a year, and again, I said this is not about anything, getting rich quick or anything, but what I want to be able to show you is that, over time, if you're consistent as you're diligent, you can see your investments grow in that manner. And what investments allow you to do is to have more options. And when you have more options, when you have more time to think, what does that look like? Would you stay at the same job that you're at right now? Nothing wrong with where you're working and what you're doing, but if you had the additional income, would that still be a possibility? All right. What would your vacations look like? All right. We just took one of our first major vacations in probably about 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
It was amazing. Yeah. So our son Joshua had a dream, like Martin. Yeah. Not quite like Martin, but we do encourage our young people to dream. And our son's dream was to go on a cruise. Mm. So he had his first cruise over the New Year's Eve holiday break. Christmas break, winter break.
Right.
And so we had our first cruise on Carnival. Mm. Shout out to our nephew who works for Carnival. But I think he had a really great time. Yeah. And for us, we wanted to make sure he could fully enjoy the experience. Mm. And he did. Yeah. He had an opportunity we finally enforced a curfew for the first time.
But what was wonderful for us is that he was old enough where he was able to go and participate in his own activities, but it gave us an opportunity to relax and decompress. So yes. in your own mind and your own vision, what would it look like being able to take 2, 3, 4, 5 vacations a year, being able to do the little 2 or 3 day vacation, or maybe being able to do a big 1 or 2 week, getaway, where, and watch this, where you don't have to worry about, your finance, you don't have to worry about your family. As a matter of fact, you potentially make money while you're on vacation.
That sounds like a dream to me.
Come on, we got to build a dream, Dr. Jackie.
Yes, constantly dreaming, and God gives us these dreams. And again, it's Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. And, he had a dream. And so it's okay to dream again. We want to encourage you to take these next 5, 10, 15 minutes and just think about your dream. What's your vision for your life for this year? Talk to your significant other. We sat down and we said, "Hey, is it time?" Yes. It's amazing when you can come together and align those visions and goals.
Yes.
I've had visions and goals with different initiatives. You had your visions and goals, but we're just better together. And so you all are witnessing some alignment taking place here.
Absolutely.
The word says one can chase 1,000, two can chase 10,000. So we moving towards greater, okay?
Yeah. All right.
And just as Dr. King had a dream, we want to encourage you to dream again.
Absolutely. So that dream is important, and the word tells us that without vision, people do what? They perish, right? So without the vision, without the knowledge, we find ourselves just in these futile type positions, situations where it just does not seem like it's going to get better. But when you have the dream, when you have something that you're working towards, when you have something that you get up in the morning and you're like, okay, this is my why. This is my reason for, wanting to provide for my family, wanting to be able to have a better future. So what it all comes down to is one, having a strategic plan. All right. Not only having a strategic plan. What is a strategic plan? It's knowing what you're not going to do beyond just tomorrow, but what you're going to be doing in the next 6 months. What are you going to be doing in the next 6 months to 18 months? What are you going to be doing in the next 18 to 36 months? What are you going to be doing 5 years and beyond? How are you going to chip away, and grow your savings, grow your investments, where you can get to the point where when it is time to retire, you're just not relying on Social Security and the little bit that you put into your 401k. All right. You're going to have assets that are going to be able to pay you over and over again. And that's what the future looks like. The future is bright.
The future is bright.
The future is bright, and we are happy and excited about it.
Yes, we are. We are excited about moving towards greater. I think this is going to be a wrap for now. We have so much to share. We can't give it all to you in one night. So we want you to come back for our next MTG Live, third Monday of every month.
Third Mondays. And guys, hey, remember again to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button if anything that was said,
and share it with a friend.
And share it with someone. Anything that was said, during our time together, if it inspired you, if it motivated you, or, say, hey, I would like to hear y'all talk more about, whatever topic is on your heart. We would love to hear it. We want to hear from you. We look forward to talking to you. And again, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
All right. Till next time, keep moving towards greater.
Move towards greater.